Well, welcome to another episode of The Billy Ho Show. And when I was a kid, my mother had a Singer sewing machine which lived in a box similar to this, and she just got on with it. Had a treadle machine on the bottom, which meant that you pedalled the thing and made it go. And there were a variety of sewing machines, like this one here, which I think was pretty good. You just opened it up and from the depths come a sewing machine. Look at that. All set to go, and this too has got a treadle to make it go. So very, very simple, and this is what they had back in the 40s and 50s to make the clothes. Well, I just thought it was great to see a whole array of these sewing machines here at the Rockfield Museum. So if you top of the South Island, the Rockville Museum, and it's not hard to find. You go to Collingwood, you turn left at Collingwood and just more or less follow your nose, follow the signs, and you'll end up here. What we've got here is a Chev Fleetmaster. It says here, Fleetmaster. And this is 1948, nearly into the 50s. But the body shape has kept its shape for this time. But in the early 50s, they start to look like that Chev we looked at. So this is probably one of the last models that actually kept the shape.
48's the last model, and then they went to the 49s, were like the 50s and all that.
Oh, right. So this
they were just getting rid of the running board, so there's no running board, and when you open the door, there is a running board.
But I always thought these were if you could afford one of these, you were really flash. And what's underneath it?
This has got the newer motor. It's about a 56 or something motor in it, but it's had it. So I've got a splasher engine in the shed around there that we're going to pull this one out. Put it back so it's original.
Right.
Because it's a real original car. This with factory spotlights and visor and.
Was that all factory?
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's quite an original. This was actually Frank Bunce bought this up from.
Oh, okay.
From down the South Island.
Wow. And that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at that. We have a look in here. Leather seats.
Yep.
Yes.
So I think the flasher ones had the velour, and the ones that weren't as flash had the leather.
Wow.
I think that's how it worked.
That's a nice looking outboard for the radio. Is in behind the radio as big as what we saw before?
No, I don't think so, no.
Oh, okay.
No, I think that's just a Buick radio. It's huge.
And
banjo steering wheel.
Oh, okay. So what makes it a banjo?
I don't know. Well, it must be this.
Oh, the little
and plus it's got the little chrome.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And bone handled.
Lovely.
They're worth a bit of money.
Wow.
In the States, that you get big money for them.
And look at the room in there. Amazing. So if you're a farmer and you had 8 kids, you just pile them all in there. So somebody sits on somebody's knee, and no worries, we'll get them all in there. Come on, we're going off to town. Let's go. Ton of room in there. It's amazing.
Yep.
And then we come to that factory as well?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And that sort of gives it that aggressive look. But a lot of cars, in the 50s anyway, that I remember, a lot of them had these visors on them, yeah. I see some of the trucks today, they sort of look like that, which makes them look really aggressive,
yeah.
The visors.
Yeah, well, there's a whole thing in the States, to keep them original. They airbag them, but keep the 6 cylinders, and then they try to put every single factory option
back
on them, yeah, like to those cooler things that hang out the window.
Yeah. Amazing. You even got the hubcaps with Chev written on them, all lovely, all fits together, it's all there. Even this little chrome surround bit.
Yeah.
So it would have looked really lovely when it came off the factory floor.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely. This looks like about a 51, is it? 50?
It's I think it's a 54.
54. And they changed to the next, the R series, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's the L series.
Yeah.
And
it's got AR 160, but.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's what it must be.
But I don't know if that's the right,
Oh, okay.
because I blew the clutch in it, and it was a nightmare trying to get a clutch for it. And Lambert's, the local place, wouldn't fix it for me. And then a guy wanted my old Leyland tractor, and he said, I'll get you a new clutch for the tractor, because he worked for the digger company place. I can't think of it at the moment, but then he took it to Lambert's. They fixed it in 2 days.
Really?
So I don't know what's the difference between a big company and Joe Blow off the street. But
Matty Franisevic had started life with one of these.
all right.
Yeah. You know Matty from Dargaville? Well, he's not long
Oh,
with
yeah,
us.
yeah.
But when you look at his, it's just a big pile of rust in a paddock.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
at least you've still got it. It feels sticky. You sort of got soaked
Yeah,
in
linseed oil.
linseed oil. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just to protect it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you got to do something else.
Well, you can thin it down, but I just wanted to put it on real thick.
Yeah, there's another bloke who lives down Tartica way,
Yeah.
and he's got one like you had up the top there, the 37, I think, sitting out the front, and every 3 months he covers it in diesel.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The whole-
yeah, keeps
the whole-
it works good too.
The whole
eh?
thing.
Yeah,
Must smell a bit.
yeah.
But anyway, so another man called George Wallace, and he was very proud of his one, because I did a lot of work down at Haastway, sort of building the roads down in Haast,
Yeah.
and he was very proud of that truck. Yes, it was just a great workhorse. It was wonderful, and I guess that's the same for you as well, is it? The
Yeah,
good
yeah. Well,
workhorse?
this is on an A sticker, so I can do 20 k's from the farm.
Oh, righto.
And
yeah.
I've just gone and got this old barn that they're building a new cow shed there, so free for removal. And I've written it with my grandfather's
Old name.
logo on it. So it's the
Oh,
first time it's had Ace Brothers cruising the roads in about 80 years or something.
Phone 41. My grandmother's number was 7.
Oh yeah.
Phone 7 Turua.
Yeah, well, that's actually 41 Carmo was my great great grandfather's number,
Oh.
and since then I've had it. So I had another number in it. It was 415 or something.
Oh, okay.
By the time he'd taken it over.
So that was one number. Now what are we? 7 or nearly 8?
Yeah.
Most of us have got a cell phone, I think. So
Yeah.
a lot of those numbers are disappearing. Yeah. And
Now, if I hadn't lost the keys, I'd start it up, because it
Oh,
sounds like
okay.
a dream. But yesterday I lost the keys.
yeah. Oh, well, we'll have a look on the cab anyway. A 2-speed diff.
Yeah. Split a diff.
You any good at that?
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't take too much to get used of, but I need to oil it every now and again. It won't pop in. So.
Oh, righto. And this is the original colour.
Yeah. So I paid Noel $400 for it, because that was the scrap value of it. I bought 6 of them.
As you do.
Yeah. But, you know, this is a real good truck.
When people come here, you're a cap to start off with, so they can get a coffee or a lunch or a breakfast. They can do breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast.
Yeah, breakfast,
Yeah,
lunch,
all day.
And a dinner.
Night dinner, yeah. Beer, and we got a locally brewed beer and normal beer, and
What's your locally brewed beer called?
it's 3 Mountains.
Oh, okay. There's
Yeah.
a picture there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Who brews that? You?
No, Mike Jenkins
Oh.
at the brew shop down at Mangatapuri.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you come here, folks, it's like when you look around the walls at the photographs and the memorabilia, and it's like going back to 1950s, 1940s, and you go, well, I remember that, and oh, look at this, and look at that over there, oh, and you can spend an hour just sort of going, ooh, ah, that stuff that's actually here. And behind me there's some photographs, and your great-grandfather's...
Great-grandfather, grandfather, great-grandfather. They had a trucking business in Whangarei.
Wow. And hauling the logs, that's somebody else?
Yeah, that's Alexander
Oh, okay.
family.
But we see photographs from people all around the country, you know, back in the, 1910 to 1920, 1930, and these ridiculously small trucks with these ridiculously large logs on the back, sort of like, 11
ton
12.
logs there, at least, I'd say, at a guess.
We spoke to a man called Snow Brown who had 2.5 ton truck that came from the US Navy. And so the GMCs went to the Army and the Internationals went to the Navy, and he had this 1.5 ton truck. He put this log on the back, and for some reason he had to go out to the main road. When he got out onto the main road, and he thought, I'm only going to be there for 5 or 6 minutes, so I'll be off it before I get sprung.
Yep.
And unfortunately for him, he got sprung, and the bloke weighed him up, the cop weighed him up, and he was 28 tonne. 28 tonne on a 1.5 tonne logger. Amazing. He said in the fine cost what I just paid for my house. He said, managed to wheedle my way out of it. So,
Yeah.
Back in those days, people worked.
Yeah.
And it must have been really, really hard work. And they were using their initiative the whole time. If something broke, well, they'd fix it with this or fix it with that. It's not like sort of send me up, 2 pistons and put them in tomorrow. No, you had to sort of really think outside the square back in those days, that's for sure. Yeah. Anyway, so when people come here, what's your address?
2712 Mungakahi Road.
So you turn right down at Mangatapiri where the Pioneer Museum is. And so you could make a day of this. You could go to the Pioneer Museum in the morning, come up to here for lunchtime and enjoy yourself. So you've got your whole day covered. Come to this place and as I said, you'll really enjoy yourself. Is that all right?
Yeah.
What I've got here is a copy of Talking Trucks. This is a book I wrote a couple of years ago, and it's the history of New Zealand trucking. And it's all from the programs that I did between 2013 and 2016. I'm going to let this go for $25. So it's a special. Christmas is coming up. So if you'd like your copy, there's my phone number, 027 277 0717. Just send me a text or email me, billhoheper@extra.co.nz to get your copy. $25 and the history of New Zealand trucks. The second Wheels at Wanaka event is on this coming Easter in 2021, and that's on Saturday and Sunday the 3rd and 4th of April. They're planning a bigger and brighter event with more vehicles and machines working as well as on display. Cars, trucks, tractors, traction engines, scrapers, dozers, graders, the lot. If it's got wheels, it'll be represented at this amazing event. They're having an earth moving only day on Good Friday the 2nd of April, and there's a $10 entry for this. So go to the webpage www.wheelsatwanaka.co.nz for more information. We'll be there filming the event, so we look forward to seeing you there. This is the Glasgow Tractor we talked about when we were in Tapanui last time, and Dave took us into the showroom, and but it was very dark and gloomy, so now they've got it out in the open. It's a great opportunity to actually just see how odd this tractor is. One wheel at the back and the diff are in each wheel in the front there, and they built 230 of these in Scotland. And they didn't sell all that well, and so they shipped them out around the world, and some of them came to New Zealand, and this is one of them. But it's just got to be the oddest and strangest tractor that you're ever going to see. Great big steel wheels in the front, and she's just amazing. I'll just read what it says on the front here. Imported by Chas Smale of Moa Flat for £500, and that was in 1920. Murray Roger restored it in time for the Western Otago Vintage Club Rally in 1960, and it says there only 250 Glasgow tractors were produced, and this is the only example in New Zealand. Other similar serial numbers are number 110 with the National Museum of Scotland, number 174 in Tasmania, and a number 178 in Ballarat Centre in South Australia. So those are the three in the Southern Hemisphere. The Glasgow Tractor was designed by William Guthrie and produced in 1919 until 1924 in Glasgow in Scotland. Sales in Great Britain were disappointing, although the number of tractors were shipped to the British colonies and few survived. So finally I just have to sit in this seat. I'll just slide my little bottom across this. I actually fit in here okay. Feet on the clutch, got an accelerator here, so off I am. And they tell me that this wasn't all that wonderful as a farm tractor, but it did sort of tow the chaff machine or okay. So not the best choice in tractors, but very, very unique. With me is Graham, and Graham, you've got a Trojan.
Yep.
And I've seen two Trojans other than this one. One's in the Richardson Museum, and if you get in that, you can't actually lift it. You can't do anything. You've had it. You need a little midget guy to drive it.
Yep.
And the other one, when we did a southern run a while back, they had one. No, it was a northern run about 2010. They had one on the back of that, all beaten up, and somebody was going to redo it. But Trojan is an old English company, goes way back, and I think these were basically bands, I think.
Yep. So I think they made quite a few of them in the war years. Ambulances. We've got quite a bit of bookwork on these vehicles, and it shows some there as ambulances. This particular one here is brought brand new from my father-in-law, Dave Chittick. 1955.
It was brand new in 1955.
Yep. Oh. Came over from England, just no cab on it, just the mud guards and the firewall.
As they did.
And apparently he drove it down on an apple box from Dunedin down to Gore. The cab was made somewhere in Invercargill.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're not too sure who built that, we're just trying to find
it's very similar to the one that's in Invercargill, so maybe the same guy built them both.
Yeah, the cab on this one's actually quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I can actually sit in this. When it was at Edinburgh, I'll see if I can get in this one, and hello, we can. Yeah.
When the father went to pick it up, he was quite a big man, a bit like himself, and he wasn't happy about the size of it. So he's actually split in the back of the roof there, and he added got him to put 4 more inches in. 4 inches to fit in. But yeah, it sat in the Whakanui Pioneer Park Museum for quite a while. And after Dave passed away, we sort of, my wife and I, she used to drive in all the parades in it for him. We decided we'd get it back on the road, and we took it back down home. And all we've actually done was got the brakes fixed up on it, got it going, so everything else is the original way it was.
Oh wow, pretty big.
Yeah, I think it's had one paint job, I think. The deck on the back, the father when she built that, everybody looks and goes, it's too modern for it, but it's actually Durillium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why it's all bolted together, yeah. So it's actually the original deck on it. Quite a good size.
1955.
Yeah, quite a good size.
Yeah. I see it's got a 3-cylinder Perkins.
Yeah, 3-cylinder Perkins.
That's what it came with?
Yep, yeah, it's the original motor. Once again, we've got all the paperwork that shows you how to start it and how to look after it. All the maintenance work on it.
So how do you start it?
Have a look. Have a look at that. At the moment she's probably quite warm, but when it's cold it's got Kai gas, which is this here.
Yep.
There's a wee tap under the bonnet that probably turn on. Just unscrew that, give her a few pumps till she sort of comes firm. Screw it back in there. Stops, buttons in. Shows you out of gear, and we'll run over your car. Give her a bit of heat for a wee while.
Push button.
Yeah, push button heat on here, and then run it. It's got quite a sound of its own.
Yeah, I'll say. How many gears?
3-speed.
In this little section I've finally found a Vulcan truck, and all through our series since we started talking trucks in this series, people have mentioned a Vulcan. Well, finally I found one. This is a 1927 model, and it's on solid tyres, which is unusual for 1927. At the same time, Chev is just about to go into 6 cylinders after being 4. Quite a modern vehicle. But this is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The English think this is quite the bee's knees. But Vulcan started in 1903 building cars. And during the First World War, they started building trucks like this, and they were ambulances to the English or the British Army. But Vulcan also built their own engines, and the engine in this is actually a Vulcan. And yeah, crank start, 1927 we're talking about. And Vulcan went right through to they got sold to Tilling Stevens, which was the people who built the TS3 Comma. And both Vulcan and Tillings Stevens disappeared in 1953 when they got sold to the Roots Group. So it's just an interesting old truck. Easy enough to get in on this side, but to get behind that steering wheel, this would have to go back about another 6 inches just to get my legs around the brake and the gear lever and what have you. But come and have a look at this. And we've got the clutch and the brake in the usual spot with the accelerators in between there, but the only dial we've got is this oil gauge here, that's all. Handbrake, and as I said, you've got a lever to get yourself out of reverse, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 gears. In the reverse you pull the little lever and you go back over into reverse. It's got the hand controls up here for advance and retard, etc, etc. But I'm going to have a go now trying to get behind the steering wheel. Just have a look. See, there's no gap here. You have to be that wide in order to get in past the steering wheel. So she's obviously a getting on the left hand side job. But now if I try and do this, is a bit of an act. I can get that leg around all right, slide into here, and the steering wheel's up in my chest, so I suppose it's better than sticking in my guts. But I can reach the clutch and the brake. I guess if I push my foot right round like that, I might be able to reach that clutch, but no, there's no way I can get my leg from here over that lot into here. So if I'd turned up for this job, sorry mate, I can't get in your truck. The people who bought this was St Kilda's County Council, and you might remember the steam truck we had on a few weeks ago. That was bought by the Littleton County Council. So county councils and city councils, I guess, still like the old stuff. I guess it was cheap and easy to run and what have you, but this is where this started life in New Zealand, with the St Kilda County Council. But there it is, a Vulcan, a very rare truck, and as I say, it's had its time in history. The pilot of this plane they call the Domini is young Adam Butcher, and he's been flying this plane around for several years now, mainly sightseeing and nostalgia flights out of Mandeville. Adam's just got the plane out of the hangar and needs to check it over. Make sure the engines run and take it for a bit of a run around the paddock here just to make sure all systems run and all's good. For the commercial flights he'll be doing over the rest of the day. Flying by the seat of your pants, as they say.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
There's no GPS, there's no electronic aids. In fact, the only electronics that we have are the radio and the starter motors, really.
How big are the starter motors?
Not big enough.
Really? Oh, okay.
They're one of the very first to have an aircraft fitted with the starter motor. So the little generator that we talked about on the wing earlier provides enough to sustain a current, but it's not really enough to keep the battery fully topped up.
Right.
So it's not uncommon over a few flights that we end up starting the engines by hand.
So do you start the engine with a key, or how do you start?
You can see just in the very centre of the console there's the two starter buttons.
Oh,
so there's a silver button,
yep.
one for either engine, left and right.
Yep.
And then directly below that are the two brass switches down at the moment. They're the ignition magneto systems for the aeroplane.
Oh, we're just putting a little more fuel in it. It's an interesting process with the old aeroplanes. We actually manually prime them from the outside to start, rather than priming them inside like you would in a modern aircraft. And the aeroplane hasn't flown since the 24th of December. So when they're a little colder, they take a moment extra to get started. Yeah, so we'll put a little more and then we'll be away. So as far as I know, this is one of only 2 aircraft in the world, the Domini Dragon Repeat series, that are working commercially in the world now. So there are a lot more of them flying, but originally there were only ever 700 built. Yeah, 2 of them flying in New Zealand currently of the 9 that came here in 1946.
There you go, you learn a new thing every day. Now, the other thing, what's the plane mainly made of? I mean, looking at the wing covers, it's some sort of cloth.
Originally it was, you're correct. So it would have been an Irish linen type cloth originally. Nowadays this aircraft is covered with a fabric called Seconite. It's a polyester based fabric, and it's actually sewn on like a bag. So you have a big sock that slides over the wing.
Yep.
And you use a household iron to shrink that fabric up a little to take the wrinkles out.
Yep.
And then it has a series of layers of, it's like a dope that was used originally from the Irish linen, but it's a modern material now to tighten the fabric further.
Wow. And the fuselage, what's that?
Fuselage is all timber, as are the wings. There's very little metal in the aircraft.
So-
really only for the,
So it wouldn't be heavy timber, would it?
not at all, no, we weigh 1.5 tonnes empty.
So will you take passengers today?
We will, yeah, we'll take flights for people today. We can take 8 passengers at a time. So we'll be doing 10-minute flights for people today. Righto, we'll stop here. We're just going to run the engines up to check the temperatures and pressures. These are our ignition switches on the dash. So we have a 2 independent systems. We're just checking now that those are working separate to each other. We're going to run up to 1600 RPM next. Everything's happy, and we'll do the exact same on the port engine.
The Domini was designed in England in the 1930s as a twin-engine cabin biplane capable of carrying 8 passengers in relative comfort. It could go for 350 miles at 110 miles an hour. This aircraft went into service with National Airlines Corporation, or NAC for short, not long after NAC was formed in late 1946. I'm sure a lot of you will remember travelling in one on the short hops to provincial towns around the country back in the day. Well, what Adam's going to do now is collect his passengers and ready for his first flight. Oh,
Here we go. Lots of power. Same thing, he's got a lot of rudder on, keeping straight. And the tail comes up. And then off the mains.
NAC was the original domestic airline of New Zealand from 1947 until 1978, when it amalgamated with Air New Zealand's international airline, Air New Zealand. NAC's headquarters were in Wellington. NAC itself was a government-led amalgamation of RNZAF 40 Transport Squadron, Union Airways and a number of other smaller operators, including the country's first commercial air service, Air Travel New Zealand Limited. NAC also did international trips to the Pacific Islands, in particular Fiji, and they went via Norfolk Island, using a long-range Douglas DC-3. The Pacific Island service also took in Tonga, Samoa and the Cook Islands. However, in 1952, all NAC services to the island were withdrawn and taken over by Teal, with the exception of the Norfolk Island run, which continued until September 1955. Teal, by the way, stood for Tasman Empire Airways Limited. Teal operated Sunderland flying boats, and I remember them landing into the harbour and taxiing back to Mechanics Bay. They've actually got one on display at Motat in Auckland. It's well worth a look if you're in Auckland. This is very interesting because when we went to Germany, when we went to England and looked at the TS4 Commer engine, we went to Germany afterwards just because we were close and we knew somebody there. But driving around Germany, they've got exactly the same thing. Everybody sits sideways on it, they've all got a beer, and there's a big beer tank.
All right.
So you're sort of surrounding this little beer keg, going along sideways. This is just down the street, you know, everybody's woohoo!
Could be something for next year.
Yeah, we can find a big barrel.
And that's just a four-wheeler? Or
Three-wheeler, yeah,
three-wheeler.
just a 250, Honda 250 three-wheeler.
The three-wheelers you don't see much of these days.
No,
No,
no.
they're just about in the classic
Yeah,
era.
too dangerous to ride nowadays.
Yeah. But this isn't?
No, no, not at all.
Well, that's marvellous. Well, folks, we're going to disappear in the sunset and we'll go that way. See you next year.